Alright, welcome to another live Unreal Engine tutorial with Ask a Dev. My name's Kevin. We are going to be talking about Hit Flash today. I'm pretty excited about it. If you can't tell, I do actually am fighting off about 102 fever, but the show must go on. Am I right? So apologize if, I'll try not to cough in mics and stuff like that. But, like I said, today's tutorial, we're going to be implementing Hit Flash. And in order to do that, I think it's good that we take a quick look at Hit Flash and make sure that we're all talking about the same thing. And we're going to be doing some material work. We're going to be doing some blueprint work. It should be a lot of fun. And in the end, we'll have a cool little Hit Flash. Potentially you can put it in a component, but we'll be able to modify our materials and everything to do that kind of stuff. So with that, let's just done. But before we get started, it's great to know that we're all on the same page and talking about the same thing. So I have a couple Hit Flash examples here that I want to show you so that we're all talking about the same thing. So this is dead cells. Specifically, what I'm talking about is as these arrows come in and hit the enemy, you'll notice that when they hit the enemy, the character flashes. Okay, that flash is a visual cue for the player to know that they are doing damage or receiving damage. It's one of the many things that is in our potential things that we can use that kind of go into a broader category of hit feel and combat. Now, even though we have Hit Flash, it's not always used. So this is a great example. You'll see it. You see it in a lot of platformers, Donkey Kong, for anybody who used to play Donkey Kong. Here, I don't think this is Fortnite. You don't really see it here if you frame by frame it. Ori. This is a great example. Things are kind of get a little bit crazy on screen, but all of a sudden there's damage and the character turns bright red and the player knows that they took damage at that point. Smash Brothers. There's lots of different full body flashes that happen on Smash Brothers. I don't play Smash, so I can't tell you what they all mean, but there's a bunch of them there. Now, just because we know how to implement Hit Flash doesn't mean we necessarily should. So in this particular case, this is God of War. Obviously, you don't see any Hit Flash as we frame through this, and there's whether or not you're going to use it or not. It's going to largely depend on your game, the effects, everything that you have going on. You just may not need it. So another great example with Ori, got hit by the spiky burr thing, and then Guilty Gear. No Hit Flashes on Guilty Gear. There is so many things, so much effects going on this screen when you frame through this. Hit Flash is just going to add even more noise, and you may not need it. So this is very much a don't make this an everything is a nail situation. Just because you know how to use it doesn't necessarily mean you have to put Hit Flash on everything. That said, I find, especially early in prototype, whenever I am like, did I do damage? It is a quick and easy way to test more Guilty Gear examples. It's a quick and easy way to implement something that will allow you to have a visual cue to know that damage is being done either to you or to the enemy. But whether or not you ultimately use it should be based on your style and everything else that's going on in your game. So now that we've got back through our intro, let's go ahead and talk about how we're going to do this. So we have our character. Our character in our viewport has all of her colors on it, and she is using this masked unlit sprite material. If we go to that masked unlit sprite material and we look at it, it is a material instance and its parent is sprite base. So I'm going to go to sprite base and I'm going to implement this for all of our characters because I want to be able to apply this Hit Flash to all of our characters. Thanks, Black Panda. Thanks for hopping in. I'm going to have to do some editing on this stream because the first part of it was crashed. So, but we'll see you when we'll see you in the Discord or whatever later too. Okay. So here's our material. Here's what we're going to do. Basically, because it's a sprite material, it pretty much just plugs into emissive color and the opacity mask. That's how these work. If all we do is add red to the final output, we will get a red character. So let's do that just to show you what I'm talking about. So let's just do an add. And if you've never used the material editor before, it works a lot like blueprints. These execution pins, they go through, you multiply, add different things, and then your final color goes into the output, and that's what color your character is. Now, in this particular case, I'm going to add a parameter vector, a vector parameter, and I'm going to call this hit flash color. Okay, and we are going to set this to be bright red. Let's talk like, and you can also go above 1 with these. So let's go 5. Make it really red. Okay, and we're going to feed that into the add, and then we're going to take that add and we're going to feed that into the emissive color. Okay, and when we do that, when we apply it, if we go back and we look at our character, you'll notice that they are bright red. So this is a quick way for us to kind of intercept, overtake, and add to our character the emissive color, which will give us that nice pop in red. Now we can also use any color we want. In this particular case, if I wanted to go blues instead, I could go 10. I could apply that, and when we go back and we look at our character, you'll see bright blue. So maybe you're using hit flash for damage, maybe you're use it for cold freezing, all kinds of stuff. So we're building in some flexibility here, but let's just go back to red. Okay, now we're going to be doing this in a way that doesn't require us to use timelines, which is kind of fun. So normally, a lot of implementations I've seen, there's a timeline that ticks and everything like that, but we don't have to do that. We can just use a little bit of math to help us sort this out. So what we're going to do, and it's because we have access to the game time in here. So what we can do is let's create a couple of variables that are going to help us. We need a scalar parameter, okay? And we need a couple bits of information. We need the hit start time. That's when we're going to start this hit. And we also need the hit duration. And we're going to call this hit duration. Now we are going to set these when we set it for our character, okay? When we do our hit, we're going to set these, okay? Now, let's see here. So here's what we're going to do. If you're thinking about this, let's get time as well, and we can talk through this real quick. This is the actual game time. So if I do damage at a specific time, let's say 5 seconds, and I do damage, and I want the duration to be 0.1, I can take my start time, I can add my duration, okay, and then I can compare that to the current time. So if my hit start time is 5 seconds and my duration is 0.1, and the current time is 5, I should display red. If not, then I don't display red. So what we're going to do is we're going to take and we're going to subtract off time. And then we're going to clamp this. Okay, and the min's going to be 0 and the max is going to be our hit duration. Okay, and we're going to take all of this and we're going to multiply this by our color. So that when the result of this math is 0, we're adding nothing. And the result of this math is a number above 0, we're adding some amount of color in red or etc. Okay, so now we're going to multiply that in, and then we're going to take the result of this multiply and we're going to feed that into our add. Okay, so this is the first pass at our hit flash. Now we need to be able to set this. We need to be able to set the values and so on. So what we're going to do is in game, in Blueprint, we're going to go through and we're going to set when the damage starts, we're going to set the start time for the material and the duration for the material, and that's going to cause our character to hit flash. So there's a couple of things that we need to do. And since the stream crashed and this is the second time through, I'm going to do this a little bit differently this time around. And what we're going to do is I'm going to explain to you the nuances of material instance dynamics versus static right from the get-go. So if we were to try to plug this in and we were going to try to set our hit time and duration, it wouldn't work at first. And the reason it's not going to work is because in order for you to be able to change a parameter on a material, it needs to be a material instance dynamic. Dynamic meaning it can be changed. So all of the materials on our character to begin with are not dynamic. So we need to set our character up to have material instance dynamics for its materials. So we're going to do a quick little step here where we're going to go into our character. Actually, if we apply this, she should turn back to normal. We're going to go into our character and we're going to on begin. Let's do this on begin play, I think. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to get our sprite and we're going to get the materials on the sprite. Now, I'm pretty sure a sprite only has one material, but we're just going to do this as a for loop and go through all of them just in case. And then what we'll do is for each of these, we are going to create a material instance dynamic. Okay? And then we are going to assign it to our sprite for the material slot that it was in. So if we're talking about the 0 slot or the 1 slot, we're just going to feed that right in using the array index. So then we're going to set the material. So let's set the material. And we're going to set the material to be the one we just made. So now it's a material instance dynamic. And we are going to use the index of the array we're in. So we're replacing the static material with a dynamic one when we start to play. Now that we've done that, we should have access to be able to change the parameters on our materials at runtime. So let's just compile that, make sure it works, save it. Now, in this particular case, we want to do this when we apply damage. So if we wanted to, right here, we could try to set some stuff and test it, but let's just skip straight to the damage. And we'll just do it there. So in this particular case, you need to find where all of your damage is being done and the place that makes the most sense for you to do this. In my particular case, this is using a game queue notified latent, and it basically, when damage is done, there's a lot of things that happens. It broadcasts damage, it sets and plays the damage animation, it does VFX, all these kind of things. So what we're going to do is we're just going to hijack right here, and we're going to put in, for testing, we're going to put in our damage. Okay, so to do that, let's do this. Let's cast this character to a paper default. Okay, and from that, we are going to get the sprite. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to get all the materials on the sprite. Get the materials. And we're going to do another for loop. And what we're going to do is we're going to loop through each material, and we're going to tell it to set the hit duration and everything. So, okay. And then because these are dynamics, we can now set scalar parameters. Okay. Now, you're not going to be able to do it right off here. We're going to have to cast this to a material instance dynamic first. Now we can here, and I'll show you. If I drag off here and try to set scalar parameter, I can't. See how it doesn't show up here? Okay, so what I need to do is I need to set the scalar parameter value. And the value that I want to set is I'm going to use, go back to our material, make sure we're getting the right names, hit start time. Okay, and we're going to set that to the time. Oops. I have one down here, which is right here, I believe. So let's just grab the time. This is the game time in seconds. So that's going to be the start time. And then we need to set our hit duration. And we will clean up this blueprint after we test this all, and it makes sense. So set another scalar parameter value. In this case, it's going to be hit duration. Hit duration. And for now, let's just set it to 1. Okay? And then when we're done with this for loop, we're going to go back about our merry way. Now, theoretically, this might work. So let's just see what happens. I'm just going to stand here because the enemy should hit me. Look at that. 1 second. 1 second. That's pretty cool. Our hit flash is working. So we know we're getting hit flash. We know we're getting hit, as if it wasn't super clear anyways. But let's change a couple things. First off, let's just set our hit time to be 0.1. We're not done. We got cool stuff left. So let's go 0.1. See if that feels better. And the other thing I want to do is I want to change our hit flash color. I'm going to go bigger. Let's go, because we can also set our colors here too. So if we wanted to set cold damage or whatever, we could. So set a vector parameter value in this particular case. And the value we're going to set is going to be hit flash color. And the value, I'm going to change this to be red. But I'm going to go 0, 0, and let's do 100. See what that looks like. Okay? That feels pretty good. I think that feels pretty good. Let's see what it looks like on our enemies. Okay. It is not working on our enemies. Why not? Well, the reason it's not working on our enemies is because our enemies don't have material instance dynamics on them. Because we did all of this work on the hero pawn. So what we want to do, I think, is go up a level. So let's copy this and go back to paper default. And let's move this up. Begin play. On begin play, we're just going to paste all this into here. Okay, and then we can take that out of our pawn, our hero, because this should just be on everybody now. Okay, so let's just double check that we're still working. Okay, I work, and the enemies work. So now I know I'm doing damage on the enemies. Looks pretty good, right? This is cool. And we can change the color. So if we go back and we go back to our hits, if we wanted to do blue because we were doing cold damage, for example, we could do 100 here, 100 there. Let's go 0 there. Oh wait, that's green. 100. Okay, and now when we get hit, we'll be bright blue. Pretty cool. Pretty cool. So we would know we were getting ice damage, for example, or you could use green for poison. There's a lot of flexibility in this, depending on what you're trying to do. So we'll stay with red. Now, there's one more cool thing we can do that you all might like, and that is we can use the hit location to also potentially tell us a little bit more information about where the damage is coming from as well. What do I mean by that? Well, what we could do is we could take, and let's just do, here's our return value, here's our location. Okay, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to add a new vector parameter, and this is going to be hit flash location. Okay, but instead of feeding in a color, we're going to feed in a position, which is, I think, one of these. It's weird that they're transforming this, but let's just see if we can use this one. Okay, so there's our hit location now. Now we just need to update our material to be able to understand that. How are we going to do that? We're going to use a sphere mask to do that. Let's copy this so we spell it right. And what we're going to do is let's duplicate this. Let's rename this to be our hit flash. Whoa. Hit flash location. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we are going to basically use a sphere mask. So this is something that's in materials. It allows you to take a sphere and put it over an object, and I could probably show you here if we do flat. And we set our location to, let's say, 0. You'll be able to see the result of it here. All right, so we need the absolute world position. Interesting, world position. Okay, so we have our world position. And what we're going to do is we're going to put a sphere mask in here. Sphere mask. And what this is going to do is it's going to create a sphere for us. Okay. And the radius of the sphere, let's say, is going to be, let's start with 10, and a hardness of 30 would be good. And then we're going to take that, and I'm going to kind of reduce it a little bit by using a power. And these are some numbers that I've used in the past that I was successful with, so you can just play with these till you get what you want. And then I'm going to feed in this to one more multiply. So what this is going to do is literally going to mask off where this effect is happening to be inside this sphere. So if we do this, and we take, and let's change our radius to, let's see, 1 maybe? 0.5, 0.1. Oh, world position. I'm expecting to see this value here. Oh, no, I can't see it. The reason I can't see it is because we have this start time. If we skip this and we just go straight to here, I believe. Let's see here. So we have our color, we're multiplying it by our sphere mask, which has a radius of 2, 4. Interesting. The absolute world position. I'm expecting to be able to see this here. We should be able to see this in this material. Okay, let's try this. Let's do... There it is. Okay, so we can see it there. So that's a radius of 4. Let's go 10. Okay, so now we're getting there. So 20, 100. So this is the mask. You can see it, and the hardness is determined by this number here. So if we go 60, it'll be a much solid. If we go 1, it's kind of a softer mask. So I'm going with 30 here. And if we feed the power version of it in, you'll be able to see this, how the smoothing's happening at the edges, which is cool. All right, so we're going to take all of that, and we're going to take this into our multiply and reconnect all this stuff so it's correct. So we're taking our original color, we're going to take our game time, this is basically the activation, this is going to be the color, and then this is going to be the masking. Now I do want this power plugged in. Okay, so what this is going to do is this is going to allow us to kind of give us a sense of direction. So we just need to set that. So let's apply this. And then in our damage, our hit flash location is here, should already be there. Let's see if this works. Do you see that? See how it's only the character's head? So if I go over here to this guy and I shoot him, it's only where I'm hitting him on the side. Now the sphere I think is a little bit small, so let's increase its radius. So let's go back here to our material. And we could even make this a parameter if we wanted to. That's not it. This is what we want. Let's change our radius to be 250. See if that feels better. Oh, I forgot to apply. Yeah, that feels pretty good. And now let's see what it looks like on an enemy. Oh, great, man. So now we can kind of see where we're hitting the enemy. And I think that is a pretty darn good looking hit flash, which is cool. And we can see it on our other enemies. Now, because we're setting the scale, just hard coding it, we may want to do something fancy like set it based on the size of the enemy. But this works pretty well. And it sort of wraps up. It wraps up us implementing hit flash. So let's go ahead and wrap it up. Pretty stoked. That actually, apologize for the stream crash. I'll go back and edit the video. That was basically a quick little intro to how you might implement a hit flash. Like I said, I find that it's very useful, especially early in production and depending on the style of game that you have, to know whether or not you're either getting hit or doing hit as a means to convey to your player what exactly is going on. As always, thanks for checking out the video. I'm going to go back and edit this. I'm going to try to edit it just to fix out the crash and stuff. As always, if you like what we're doing here, you can support us on Patreon, spread the word, tell people what we're doing. And depending on how long this cold lasts, I will be posting the stream schedule for next week, but we may skip Sunday because I feel like I got run over by a bus, people. So 102 fever is not fun. All right. Have a great weekend, everybody. I will catch you all on the next stream. Take it easy.